सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. ॐ
Yes, please.
Thank you. It's about the importance of the mantra, and we should take this from our teacher. How do I become aware of the right mantra for me? Do I take it from you or?
Yes, very good question and very important. So there are mantras which are for use even without Diksha initiation. And there are other mantras which are with Diksha initiation. So for example, in our Guru Parampara, there is Diksha and what we mean initiation. And you can either receive it, this Diksha, from my Guru, Swami Paramarthananda, or a Guru of our Guru Parampara, which is called Arsavidya Gurukulam or Arsavidya Sampradaya. And otherwise, I can offer to you this Diksha, this initiation, but always should be alive, not through online contact.
Okay, thank you.
Then the mantra, what it does is that it connects us with the Guru Parampara, with the authentic lineage. And through that, we can receive the grace and the blessings and the opportunity to connect with this Guru Parampara forever. So through this Diksha, through this initiation, we can every day chant the mantra, either loudly or inside, in the mind. And the mantra has the power to also to purify the mind. And this is what we call as Chitta Suddhi. Chitta is the mind, and Suddhi means purification. So for those who are not, for those who do not feel very much mature and very much prepared for the very difficult and very abstract teaching of Advaita Vedanta, they can use all the karma yoga and bhakti, devotion, and also upasana, which means meditation in Ista Devata, in a form of God that you prefer and you feel familiar with. And after you feel that, after you will arrive at a spiritual maturity level where you feel that you can grasp or you can swallow the teachings easier, then you can abandon the karma yoga and upasana. But until you feel very much that you are able to swallow, to grasp the teaching, it is nice and it is helpful to combine it with karma yoga and upasana. But sooner or later, you should abandon karma yoga and upasana when you feel very strong in the path of jnana yoga, the path of self-knowledge, self-realization. At the same time, the jnana yoga, self-knowledge, will help you to not to need karma yoga, not to need upasana. So you touch in parallel jnana yoga as you do karma yoga and upasana. And when you feel very strong in the absorption of the teaching, and you can swallow, you can grasp the teaching without so much struggle, then you can abandon. But this is the recommendation, that sooner or later we need to abandon karma yoga and upasana. Why? Because it is maintaining, it perpetuates the illusion that there is distinction between God and the devotee. And this perpetuation doesn't help for self-knowledge, because in self-knowledge, we have to arrive in the recognition, in the permanent recognition and conviction that what we are is God himself or Brahman itself. And there is no any distinction. But this needs, of course, a lot of preparation from many, many billions of lifetimes. So not everybody is in that position, in that spiritual maturity, where they can abandon karma yoga and upasana. So you have to check yourself, and also with the guru, and to see if you are able to grasp the teachings easily, and then to decide together with the guru if you can abandon, if it is recommended to abandon or not, karma yoga and upasana. I mean.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome. Somebody else? If there is no other question, we can start with a little bit reading from the transcripts of my guru, Swami Paramarthananda. And then if there is a question, somebody can raise the hand and take the opportunity to ask the question.
Is it okay if I ask a question first?
Of course.
Yeah.
No problem.
I don't know if this is another stupid question or not, but are we really Brahman, or do we bring that reality into existence by convincing ourselves we are Brahman?
Yes. First of all, we need to say, and we need to clarify what is Brahman.
Mm.
For a lot of people, Brahman means Hindu god or something which is connected with Hinduism. So a lot of, especially Westerners, they don't like this idea.
Mm.
And they feel that they need to believe in another Hinduistic god, a god from Hinduism. But Brahman is not a god. Brahman is the true nature, the true reality. It is infinite consciousness, awareness, impersonal. So when we know what means Brahman, then we can see, with the help of the Guru Parampara, the holy tradition, we can see through the tools and methodology and all the scriptural study, and with Sravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam, we can finally arrive in this permanent recognition and conviction that yes, there is only Brahman, and this is what I am. So when you say, for example, are we really Brahman? You presuppose that there is we, but we does not exist. It is only a superimposition. It is only names and forms. It is only a concept. It's like you say the waves in the ocean. The waves in the ocean is only a superimposition in the water of the ocean. The reality and the essence of the waves can be only water. The isness of the wave, the isness is Brahman, is consciousness, awareness. It is not waveness. It is not of the nature of something called wave. So the waves in the ocean are nothing else than consciousness, awareness, which we symbolize with the water of the ocean. So the essence of what we see is Brahman, awareness, consciousness. The we does not exist. Nothing and nobody exist in reality. The isness is in Brahman, in consciousness, awareness. That's why we say I am. this I amness, this beingness, can only be impersonal and one. So there are no beings in the first place. There are no individual identities in the first place. There is only beingness. And this beingness, this isness, is of Brahman itself. Now, this may seem very abstract for a junior seeker, a junior student, or a junior disciple, call it whatever you like. But sooner or later, if the spiritual seeker will follow all the instructions from this holy path of Advaita Vedanta, then it will be more and more clear. Then it will be a total recognition and conviction on a permanent basis. When this will happen is dependent on the previous sadhana, spiritual practice and work of each and every apparent individual. So for someone, it may take 1 second. When somebody is hearing the guru says you are Brahman, can grasp it immediately in a second. For some others, it may take 1 week. For some others, it may take 1 month. For some others, 1 year. For some others, 10 years. For some others, it may take 50 years. For some others, 10 lifetimes. Some others, 1 million lifetimes. Some others, 1 billion lifetimes. And some others, they may need trillions of lifetimes to arrive on that point of spiritual maturity where they can grasp that there is only that. And this is what I am as infinite consciousness awareness. So there is only this substratum or this absolute reality. And on this substratum, everything appears and disappears. All the apparent beings, all the apparent universes, all the apparent objects, all the apparent phenomena and relationships and events are none other than Brahman itself, consciousness itself. But this needs a lot of work for some and little work for some others. And it can be spontaneous for some others who are really prepared from millions of lifetimes of the past. For example, for Ramana Maharishi, the great sage, it took only 1 death experience at 16 years old. But how many are like Ramana Maharishi? So much prepared from previous lifetimes. Of course, he had a guru. Of course, he was following a guru parampara. Of course, he was doing in previous lifetimes spiritual practices and study and self-inquiry, Atma Vichara. And he needed a little bit, just a click in this lifetime to complete the process. It's a process that has to be done. And this process is also on the level of the mind. It is also dreamlike. Just like you may feel that you are in the prison in the dream, it may appear in the dream that somebody is coming and offering you your freedom. Again in the dream. So Ashtavakra Gita, for example, is a nididhyasanam scripture. It is not for revealing as Sravanam, the teaching. Also, it is not Mananam. It is not a scripture like Brahma Sutras, where the seeker, the disciple, together with the guru, are dealing with doubts and questions. So Ashtavakra Gita is a very, very profound scripture for those who had previously done very long study and Sravanam and Mananam with the Guru. It is not for many. It is for not more than 100 apparent individuals in the planet, actually, Ashtavakra Gita. And that is also a disclaimer, a warning, that if you follow Ashtavakra Gita and you didn't had enough Sravanam and Mananam, then it can create even confusion, ignorance, and darkness. It's like you give a laser weapon to a kid. Because there are verses or slokas in Ashtavakra Gita that if an ego will use these verses in a wrong way, it can produce a disaster, a big ignorance, darkness, and suffering. So if somebody doesn't feel that it is appropriate for him or her to follow this class, should stop and just stay in VIVEKACUDAMANI class every Wednesday, which is also very profound. Not so profound like Ashtavakra Gita, perhaps, but very, very profound as well. And when somebody feels more strong in the grasping of the teachings of VIVEKACUDAMANI and others, then can come in this class of Ashtavakra Gita. So a lot of also people and fake teachers, they are misappropriating Ashtavakra Gita for their own egotistic needs. And also Ashtavakra Gita is many times used for giving the chance to the egos not to follow a guru parampara, and also not to follow a guru. Because it is for very, very advanced and very mature disciples, where they did a very big, long study under a competent guru, which is called Sravanam, listening to the teachings and study scriptures. This is called Sravana. Mananam, also with a guru, which means dealing with questions and doubts with a guru. And then finally are able to do Nididhyasanam, the Vedantic meditation with this scripture. So it is very, 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 very advanced. So my guru, Swami Paramarthananda, is suggesting that these scriptures should be studied at minimum after 6-7 years of study, a lot of previous other scriptures. So this is a very big warning and disclaimer for those who believe that they are able to grasp this teaching. Of course, they are welcome here. But for those who feel any difficulty of any kind, they should immediately stop. This should be the last class for them, because it is very, very advanced scripture. And this scripture is between Ashtavakra, the great sage, and Janaka, the emperor, who Janaka himself was also a jnani, a self-realized one. So it is a scripture with two jnanis. But Janaka plays the role of a sishya, of a disciple or student, and Ashtavakra plays the role of a guru. But if we look carefully on how Janaka is responding, we can see very clearly that Janaka is a jnani already. He don't need the teaching from Ashtavakra to become a jnani. So it is very, very advanced scripture. And that's why when Swamiji is asked when I can download this scripture, actually he is putting it on the end of the list of teachings. After the third level, in the end. So there are 3 levels of a lot of scriptures, and in the end of the third level is Ashtavakra Gita. So this is for For all of you who feel that it is too heavy and too difficult, my suggestion, my advice is completely to abandon the class and come to VIVEKACUDAMANI, or even study other scriptures which are even more easy, like Tattva Bodha, for example, which is a very nice introduction. So our previous class also was Tattva Bodha, and Introduction to Advaita Vedanta. And this, for example, scripture is very good as a foundation, as an introduction. So check yourself with honesty and sincerity. And if you see that it is too much heavy, you cannot swallow, you cannot grasp, it is too much mind-blowing for you, then immediately you should abandon the class and come in VIVEKACUDAMANI, or even use private satsanga to be prepared even for VIVEKACUDAMANI. So I took the chance to also to make a small introduction as well to this study of Ashtavakra Gita. If there are no any questions, maybe Andrew can start reading from the transcripts of my guru, Swami Paramarthananda.
A question came in from Emil.
Yes.
I can read it. He said, if there is only the unchanging, where does the notion, stroke idea of we, many, etc. come from? Who conceived of these ideas and why? That's the question.
Yes, very nice question, very important. So we use the example of the mirror, of any kind mirror. It can be also mirroring on the surface of the water. So if there is the sun and we have some containers with liquid, let's say water, the sun will create, let's say, in 5 containers, a reflection. And in the 5 containers in the surface, we will see 5 suns. So all these questions and all these notions, they do appear in what we call Chidabhasa, the reflected consciousness. But they do not have inherent existence. So when there is a question or a notion that I exist as an individual, it is only due to consciousness. It is only due to the reflected consciousness. There is no somebody there who have the notion that we. The notion we is only because of the reflection of consciousness in itself. The moment we will try to reach this apparent individual entity, we will never be able to reach it. We will never be able to find it anywhere. Because in reality, it is only an illusion. It is only an appearance, a borrowed appearance from consciousness. So consciousness is like lending apparent existence to all these notions of I am or we. But it is only, in reality, one I amness. And this I amness can never be plural, can never be even dual. Even quantum physicists, like Schrödinger, I don't know if I pronunciate it well, he said that consciousness can only be singular. And he was also very much impressed with Advaita Vedanta teachings, because whatever he was able to grasp through quantum physics was very much relevant to the Advaita Vedanta abstract teachings. So whether it seems that there is somebody out there, except of consciousness, awareness, Brahman, it is only an illusion. It's like you you see your face in the mirror and you say this face is true. It has an inherent identity, and it is out there, this face. But the face is only a reflection. It cannot be real out there as inherent existence. So the same with all apparent individuals and all apparent objects and all apparent universes. Now, if you say that it is very difficult to comprehend that because everything seems so real and I experience and I interact with others and also I use things in this universe, then we can bring the example of the dream. So in Advaita Vedanta, we use very much the good example with the dream state. We have in the dream three big factors which are creating the illusion of reality in the dream. One factor is utility. When you, for example, you are thirsty in the dream and somebody will offer to you a glass of water, you will not be thirsty anymore. There is a utility experience. Then we have experienceability. We are experiencing things. If somebody will hit or create pain in the body, there will be the experience, this kind of experience. If somebody will punch us, there will be the experience of pain. And finally, there is the experience of transactions. There are transactions in the dream state. We are transacting with apparent other beings in the dream. And it looks very, very real. It feels real. So for the dreamer, the dream state cannot be a dream state. It is very real. It appears very real. If you say to the dreamer, wake up, you are dreaming, the dreamer will protest, will say, but I feel pain. Somebody hit me and I feel pain. I feel suffering. How you can say that this is a dream? But when the dreamer wakes up and there is the so-called waking state, then the ego cannot protest anymore. The ego accepts that it was a dream. For the waker, the dreamer was not real. It was only a dream. And all the experiences of the dreamer, finally, they are not real. He can realize that in the morning upon waking up. So the same with the big dream. Everything appears real. Everything has an apparent existence. It feels like that. It is a big dream. There are experiences, just like in the dream state. There is utility. There are transactions with apparent other beings. But my question is, does that can prove that this is real? We have the same, these three factors in the dream state. But upon waking up, we realize that the dream was not really there. All the people were not really there. And all the circumstances and the apparent external universe. We are realized in the morning upon waking up that it was not the truth. It was not really there. It was seemingly there. So the same with all the notions in the waking state. So the super waker is the one who realizes that the big dream of life is also a dream. He realizes that although there is utility and experienceability and transactability, both in the dream state and the waking state, the so-called waking state, it is only an illusion. And something very easy that someone can do is to look back the life. Everything will appear like a bubble. Everything will seem really like a dream. When somebody was in the school, how that appears now. It is like a bubble. When you ask somebody who is 80 years old, 100 years old, how do you feel now if you look back your life? Everybody will say, it is like a dream. It is like a moment when I was in the school. And now I'm 80 years old, 90 years old, 100 years old. But it feels like a moment. It feels like really like it was a dream. So all these notions about we are, or I am a body-mind complex, are only an illusion, are only a notion due to the power of consciousness. And we may be feeling that this is very abstract to comprehend, to grasp, to swallow right now. But Advaita Vedanta itself and all the scriptures and the Guru Parampara, the authentic lineage, is promising, can guarantee and can give the promise that sooner or later this understanding, this profound understanding will take place. It just needs patience, long-term study, Sravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam, under the guidance of a competent guru and the Guru Parampara. And then you need also to have a conducive lifestyle, a dharmic lifestyle, as per the Dharma Sastra. And sooner or later, the profound understanding will appear. I don't know if Emil wants to clarify something more or to elaborate more. Otherwise, we can proceed to another question or to the reading of the transcript.
I'll start reading, shall I?
Yes, I only want to add something very, very important. This teaching of Ashtavakra Gita, this scripture, is, as I mentioned earlier, for those who did Sravanam and Mananam with a competent guru very, very long time ago and before. So it is not for providing Sravanam or Mananam. It is for providing verses or what we call in Advaita Vedanta Mahavakyams, the great statements, and to provide this upadesa, this direct introduction to the ultimate reality, to the absolute reality. And that's why Ashtavakra Gita is a scripture which consists of only Mahavakyams. So it is a scripture that we can say by itself is only Mahavakyams, only the great statements that are for Nididhyasana, the Vedantic meditation. It is teaching and verses, slokas, which are to be used for claiming and asserting that I am Brahman. I am this impersonal consciousness awareness. So it is not for revealing teaching. It is not which we call Sravanam. It is not for receiving teaching and study of the teaching. And also it is not for Mananam. It is not for clarifying doubts and questions from the previous Sravanam. It is only for Nididhyasanam, the Vedantic meditation process. So you take one verse and you make it a tool and you use it for your Vedantic meditation, your Nididhyasana. And having said that, yes, Andrew can start reading from the transcript.
Yeah, I got a reply from Emil. So shall I read the reply first?
Yes, yes.
We'll get to the transcript at some point. Emil says, thank you for your clarification. I think it makes sense. My only comment is perhaps, why does the illusionary exist to begin with?
Yes, very nice question and very important. I can use the example of the snake and the rope. So you walk in the darkness or semi-darkness after sunset, and suddenly you look in front of your feet or your shoes and you see a snake, and you become full of panic and fear and pain. And then you try to run, or you feel completely helpless. And there comes the guru and say to you, please wake up. This is not a snake. This is just a rope appearing as a snake due to the lack of appropriate light. Then if you ask the question, and why in the first place the snake appeared, and when, does it have any meaning? Of course not. So the same is about Maya and about everything that appears as ignorance and the entire universe. First of all, the universe never had a beginning. It is Anandi, which means beginningless. And secondly, if you ask when did the universe appear and why, this question does not have a meaning because it never happened. So if you ask why it happened, it is like you are presupposing that it happened, the creation, or any kind of ignorance, or any kind of illusory notion. You are presupposing that it happened, this ignorance, it happened, this notion. But actually nothing ever happened, and nothing will ever happen. It is only an appearance. So you cannot ask when, or you cannot ask why. Plus, if you ask why, you presuppose that there is space and time. You presuppose that there is something called space, and also you presuppose that there is something called time, and that in a particular space-time continuum appeared a notion or ignorance or an apparent being. But space and time themselves are also ignorance, are also never happened. And they are also a concept only, a label, a misunderstanding of reality, real reality, or the absolute truth. In reality, or absolute reality, there is no such thing as space or time. Space and time are only names and forms, nama rupa, only concepts or labels due to the thinking process. For example, if I were to ask you in the deep sleep without dreams, did you ever had a question like why I am suffering, or does the universe exist, or when it happened, or when it started, or whether I'm Brahman or not? There are no questions there. The questions do arise when you start the thinking process. And the thinking process is using also the dualistic language for expression. And language itself is also in the level of the dream, in the level of the mind. So we use the language because we don't have other means to convey a teaching, but that doesn't mean that language is the appropriate tool to reveal the absolute reality, the absolute truth. The language is only a tool that can open the gate for profound understanding. And upon understanding, then you abandon even the language, even the scriptures. So the scriptures themselves are also on the level of the mind, on the level of what we call VIVEKACUDAMANI. And the absolute truth, the absolute reality is on the level of what we call Paramarthika, the absolute or transcendental reality. So there is no why and there is no beginning for any of notions, illusory notions, because it never happened, actually. It's like you ask, when in the process of my dream in the night, when it appeared and existed, the one who insulted me, and why he appeared, and why he existed in my dream, this bad person who insulted me. Does it have any meaning? It was only a dream. Nothing really happened. Nobody was there. Nobody really insulted somebody, even if it was such an experience in the dream state. So it is the same with the big dream of life. Everything appears real, everything appears very solid and concrete, but there is no any solidity. Solidity of any kind is a big illusion, a big joke. Even for quantum physicists, it is a big joke when you want to speak about matter as such, or any solidity or concreteness of the universe. They will only laugh. And that, of course, doesn't mean that Advaita Vedanta needs quantum physics to be the truth. It is the truth, but suddenly more and more quantum physicists, they can see that Advaita Vedanta is true. And they borrow teachings even from Advaita Vedanta, just like Schrödinger and others as well. So yes, it may sound now very abstract and very difficult, but it needs a lot of patience and a lot of preparation and a purified mind, citta suddhi, to comprehend or to grasp that there is only Brahman, there is only consciousness, awareness. And all the rest are only appearances in this substratum, in this infinite, impersonal, real reality. So if Emil wants something more to elaborate, or to start reading from the transcript.
Okay. Every human being is subject to the laws of karma. He goes through both favorable and unfavorable situations. No human being can avoid challenging situations. To face all the challenging situations, most important virtue we require is self-confidence. Unfortunately, every challenging situation knocks off this self-confidence alone first. Self-diffidence is the direct experience when we have such trying situations. When we don't have confidence in ourselves because we have lost it. Situation can be physical illness or any situational problem. We naturally seek help from outside. When everything goes fine, help is not required. We have plenty of confidence. When we need self-confidence, it gets knocked off. I look for support from outside and I expect them to give me confidence and support. To our disappointment, we don't get confidence and support. Most of them give me a lecture on what all mistakes I did in the past, a big lecture of wisdom. They advise. This is the most inappropriate time you give advice. Generally, all people do this. I just require somebody to tell me, don't worry, you have the resources to tide over the issues, or say, we will face together the situation. When others are talking about the mistakes we have done in the past, my confidence further gets weakened, as it's adding to my guilt that I'm not intelligent enough to take decisions. Isn't there anybody to help me or support me at all? There is an utter feeling of loneliness and helplessness. It is one of the powerful expressions of samsara, the sense of loneliness and helplessness. This every human being feels often during his lifetime. This is more prominent when situations are not favorable. This becomes more prominent in old age as physically and mentally we are becoming weaker. I seek help from others, but the human beings do not know this fact. Others don't want to give help and confidence since they really don't care. Those who are close and around me won't understand. I need confidence and support. They don't understand and tell me the cause of the problem. So I have to find some method. Scriptures come to our rescue and give confidence-building measures. How can we handle this diffidence? How can we handle the sense of helplessness? Veda gives two methods, one in Veda Purvabhaga, other in Veda Antabhaga. In Veda Purvabhaga, scriptures talk about seeking help from the Lord. Throughout the Gita, Lord Krishna speaks of this. With your mind fixed on me, you shall cross over all obstacles by my grace. But if you do not listen due to egoism, you will perish. If only a person seeks help and confidence from me, I will give him. One method is to remember I always have the Lord with me. The very thought I am not anatta, I have got anatta, the Lord. I have the Lord to help me. The very thought boosts my confidence. Beauty is what I require is not actual help from the Lord, but the very thought that I have someone to help me. The very thought gives me confidence. What a human being actually requires is not help, but the thought that I have someone to help me. The confidence helps me discover the inner resources to handle the situation. So what I require is offer for help, but not help. If the offer for help is not there, I can go through more psychological strain. The feeling I have help from outside, I find enough internal resources to handle the situation with confidence. Veda Purvabhaga says, with help of God, you build this confidence. Scientific research says people who have faith in God have greater immunity. Whether God is there or not, we are not discussing. Just the thought that God is there to help helps. One method of solving the problem of self-diffidence and helplessness is bhakti. Whatever be the concept of God, this helps, regardless of the religion, concept, or definition of God. Seeking help when you need help from the right source is intelligence. Whichever devotee desires to worship faithfully any particular form, I stabilize that very faith of that devotee. Instead of world dependence or people dependence, it is better to depend on God. The very thought that I have God to help me gives confidence. Instead of outsourcing, I insource. This is what Veda Purvabhaga offers. Then comes Veda Antabhaga. What you really want is not help. I have somebody to help. The thought gives me confidence. Instead of that, why can't you say differently? I don't require help. Discover this fact. I don't require help from outside. I have strength and power to handle any situation. When I conclude I need help and seek help from others, and others don't give me help, there is a problem. If I decide I don't require help from outside, but have the inner strength to handle any problem, I don't depend even on the offer of help. I drop all forms of dependence. From God dependence, why can't you come to self-dependence? Start entertaining the powerful thought, I don't require help at all. I'm the source of my own strength. To develop this thought pattern, Vedanta gives the teaching of our own real nature. Instead of shifting from family to God, why can't you learn to depend on your own self? Gaining self-knowledge and changing the thought pattern is the teaching of Vedanta. Self-knowledge is, I'm the truth of the entire universe. I don't have to depend on the world. The entire world of an Atma is dependent on me, the Atma. Therefore, I'm independent and have all the strength in myself. Even if I seek help, Mithya world cannot give me help. Why can't you use the knowledge and change the thought pattern? Samsara is not caused by the event itself, but event-centric thought pattern. Like the son who offered help to come down for a mother's cataract surgery. Just the thought of the offer helps. Specific cause of samsara is the thought pattern. External events are only samanya karanam. Internal thought pattern is visesha karanam. What is that? What is samanya karanam? That's my question.
So we need to understand that whatever appears and disappears is only an appearance, and so it cannot harm the real reality that I am as Brahman consciousness awareness. So then I don't require help from an external so-called God, because I recognize that God is just a concept, and it is again myself, my real self. So the need of help from an external factor, like a God out there, diminishes. And then we can recognize that all that appears as a problem or as external things that they can harm, they are only appearances. And through self-knowledge that what I am is not the body-mind complex, but it is infinite consciousness awareness, an impersonal one, then where is the need of asking help from an external God? So this is what needs to be conveyed through these last phrases, that most of the people, they require help from God because they don't have self-knowledge. And until you have self-knowledge, it is legitimate to ask help from God, or what we call Saguna Brahman, the God with a form that you prefer, so you can worship and ask support and help. But sooner or later, if you want to be liberated, if you want to see that you are always Nitya Mukta, as always enlightened and self-realized already as consciousness awareness Brahman, then you don't need an external God. You don't need someone to support you, because you don't require any support. You are the support of the entire universes and the support of all the apparent beings and apparent objects, because you are the substratum itself. You are the screen where everything upon appears and disappears. So in Karma Yoga, for example, and Upasana, we start with this concept that I am in distinction with God and the universe, and then I need to be a worshipper, and I need to worship the God who is not inside me, but it is something external. And by Citta Suddhi, purification of the mind through karma yoga and upasana, sooner or later I can arrive in this spiritual maturity where I don't require any more karma yoga and upasana. I don't require any japa mala, I don't require any upasana or worshipping or devotion of an external God. But actually, the highest form of bhakti and devotion is to your own self, with capital S, as Brahman awareness consciousness. That is the highest form of bhakti. And of course, then you don't need any rituals, you don't need any practices anymore, because you have arrived on the spiritual maturity that what I am is Nitya Mukta. It is this impersonal, infinite awareness, consciousness, Brahman. So who to ask help from whom? If you are that, and only that exists, then where is the need of requiring help from an external God? But this is, of course, the absolute state of the permanent recognition and conviction of your true nature. But because most of the seekers are not on that spiritual maturity, then karma yoga and rituals and pujas and sadhanas and japamala and mantra recitation and all the sadhanas, all the spiritual practices and methodology and the scriptural study and the dharmic lifestyle and everything that it is a recommendation from the scriptures themselves, they are all very, very useful and very helpful. But the ultimate state, at the ultimate stage of spiritual maturity, somebody needs to abandon all this. Except if, as a jnani, you will participate in rituals, not for your own sake, but for the sake of loka sangraham, for the purification and upliftment of society, of humanity. Then you can do rituals, you can do everything if it is for that purpose, but not because you need it for your own benefit. So we can see all these, for example, Jagat Gurus of Sringeri, they do almost every day Vedic rituals and worshipping of Shiva as supreme consciousness awareness. Do you think that they do that for themselves or they need that for themselves? Of course not. They do that for loka sangraham, for the purification and upliftment of humanity. And the same with any kind of rituals and any kind of spiritual practices. A jnani may appear that he is involved in all this, but inside him, he knows that he don't need. He knows that he's doing that to create the right paradigm, the right example for his disciples. Not because he needs to do all this for self-knowledge. He already has self-knowledge. He is already a jnani. He already recognized that he is a nitya mukta, an eternally realized one as Brahman consciousness awareness. But still, he may be appearing as participating in all of this. So if there is no any question, maybe we can close for tonight.
Yeah, we've got a minute left. So
okay. So thank you very much for your participation and namaste.
Thank you. Namaste. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.
Thank you.
पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः